The NFL put out a bad product, and they should really highly consider going forward flexing a lot of these games. I know y'all probably did see where they just flexed the Bucks and another game in, and I can't remember who the teams were, but they flexed a 4 o'clock game that was supposed to be played at 1 o'clock into the 4 o'clock window. So they're doing a good job about it, but they have to get better. But let's just talk about the Jets and the Dolphins. Obviously, y'all guys are probably very much aware Tyreek Hill suffered a season-ending injury. It was absolutely awful. At this point, I was trying to watch both games at the same time, and I had the Dolphins game on my phone, and I was watching the Broncos on the big screen. I saw it live when it happened. I was hoping that wasn't Tyreek Hill. Obviously, I don't wish injury on anybody. But I remember vividly seeing a number. I saw it was number 10, and the guy was headed to the sideline, caught the ball, and then something just looked off. I was sitting there looking at it. It's like, what is going on with his leg? His leg was literally twisted in half. The injury was absolutely gruesome. I watched it live. I did not want to watch it again. Thoughts and prayers of Tyreek Hill. He seemed like he had to be in high spirits when he was leaving. I know his body was in shock, but it's going to be a tough road to recovery. Playing the wide receiver position and just the demand. Tyreek Hill is not your 6'4" guy. He's never had the best hands. He's never had the best route running. His game has always been about his speed. With this type of injury, I don't know how that is going to affect his speed. He is an Olympic level type runner. His game has been predicated on his speed. I don't know how it's going to affect his speed, but all prayers to Tyreek Hill. He is, I hope he could come back 100%. It's going to be a tough road for recovery. I don't see a scenario where he's able to come back next year. Nick Chubb is the first person that comes to mind when I saw an injury like this. He was able to actually come back and have a successful NFL career. So maybe Tyreek Hill, he's always been a muscular guy. He's always been in very good shape. He's always took care of his body. So maybe his body is going to adapt well to this injury. He's never had a season-ending injury. This is going to be his first one. So hopefully his body is going to be able to adapt. Now let's just get to the game overall. The New York Jets are absolutely awful. For them to be coached by Aaron Glenn, a guy who was the defensive coordinator for Danny Campbell's and the Detroit Lions, he was part of the whole culture change there in Detroit. And when they hired Aaron Glenn, he decided not to, said bye-bye to Aaron Rodgers. We don't want your services. And everybody was having high hopes on the Jets because it was the type of resume that Aaron Glenn had built up. He's this guy. He's built on grit. He's all about culture. But this team is super undisciplined. The amount of penalties that the Jets had yesterday was literally, it made no sense. I've never understood a team that was super, totally undisciplined. The Jets had 13 penalties for 100 yards. Defensively, Aaron Glenn's a defensive-minded head coach. They couldn't stop a cold. Like, the run, the fumble that occurred in the end zone by Braylon Allen, super uncalled for. The one that Justin Fields had in the middle of the field on 4th down, that was just absolutely bad. Justin Fields, I don't know what he was doing. They're really able to run the ball well as a team. The Jets, they ran the ball for 7 yards a carry. They were able to rush all on the Dolphins. But for some reason, they just kept wanting to drop back and pass with Justin Fields. But the offense is pathetic. All the abysmal penalties that they had. The only highlight of their whole game was the phenomenal run that Justin Fields had, which that run was absolutely nuts. I had to rewatch it twice, and I was like, dude, if Justin Fields was able to literally take his prolific run style that he has on offense and, transfer that to his throwing, because we saw what Justin Fields looked like in the preseason throwing the football, and in the first week against the Pittsburgh Steelers, he looked like Joe Montana out there throwing dimes, and I didn't want to get 100% bamboozled by the way Justin Fields was playing, but we got bamboozled. Justin Fields could not hit nobody in the chest last night. He threw a couple nice balls to to Garrett Wilson to the sideline to one tiki-tack offensive pass interference that they called. That was a pretty nice throw. And, the one that he threw to Garrett Wilson at the end of the game. But there was a couple medium throws 5 yards down the field that he threw to Breece Hall, where Breece Hall literally had to turn his body just to catch the ball. He threw a lot of inaccurate passes yesterday. Justin Fields has to consistently get better at throwing the football if he just wants to continue to be successful. Now, when you look at his stats, he was 20 for 27. You could say he was fairly accurate, but you got to watch the game. From the eye test, he doesn't throw a nice ball. It's not a clean spiral. And he makes the receivers work harder than what they need to catch the football. But just defensively, they're bad. Too many penalties. Sauce Gardner, I don't know what's going on with him. It seems like last year he didn't have a good season, and this year he's not off to a better start than what he did last year. That was my takeaway with the Jets. I'm super disappointed in the way they've looked penalty-wise under Aaron Glenn. Last night was super uncalled for. Granted, there was a couple penalties that should have win against the Dolphins. Was definitely the late hit against number 89 there towards the end of the game. That should have been a penalty. It wasn't called, but still. Overall, just super undisciplined football team. They're bad. 0-4. They arguably should have won 2 games already, but it's the Jets. Nothing is going to change. If Aaron Glenn couldn't do it, they're still undisciplined. They're still not fully attention to detail, and they're losing football games. For some reason, the defense has not been able to hone in to the efficiency that they did 2 or 3 years ago. Last season, they weren't good, and then this year, they're not that good as well. Tua Tagovailoa was able to do whatever he wanted to do. And that's the reason why we're going to go ahead and transition to Tua Tagovailoa. Tua Tagovailoa was very comfortable yesterday. He wasn't really pressured in the pocket. He could just pretty much drop back and throw. Darren Waller pretty much had a coming out party. And he was able to notch in 2 touchdowns in his first game. Devin Achane, he was able to run the ball very efficiently. And I know we all saw the play with Tua sliding there in the second half. I held my breath there for a minute. Tua, we can't have it. You got to play smarter. The team has invested their whole future in you. And we know we've had questions about Tua. He's actually notched in 2 decent games. First 2 couple of games of the season, he looked absolutely abysmal. Last week he played pretty decent against the Buffalo Bills, and then yesterday, obviously it's against the Jets. They're not that good. They're pretty pathetic. He notched in a pretty good game. Tyreek Hill, he was actually having a phenomenal night until he absolutely shattered his leg. Jalen Waddle got some catches. Darren Waller, it was a pretty good offensive showing. They're not going to be a playoff team. They're not good. Mike McDaniels, he's on the hot seat. It's not even an argument that he's on the hot seat. I imagine if the Miami Dolphins has not won a playoff game in years, and that they've had some pretty good teams. Defensively, I thought they played pretty well too. Defensively, they were flying around on the football. The back end played better than what I thought they were going to. But they're still not good. And overall, this game was just super boring to watch. It was like watching paint dry. I just don't think the Dolphins are very flashy, specifically on offense. They're pretty, now without Tyreek Hill, what are they going to do? Is Jalen Waddle going to be able to fill in that number 1 role? We know he has the capability to, although he's been playing Robin to Tyreek Hill for the past 3 years. Is Darren Waller now, after he's not played football in a full 2 years, he's all of a sudden going to have to become a big target for Tua Tagovailoa? Can they get Ollie Gordon running and going into the run game? Can they get a more complimentary run game to keep, because Devon Achane is pretty injury prone. There's just a lot of just running components when it comes to the Dolphins. But overall, I can't even really say vividly if I enjoyed watching this game, preferably more than the other. It was just not a good game to watch. 2 bad teams, 2 teams in the AFC East who are not going to be in the playoffs, and 2 teams who have a lot to work on from a front office standpoint if they have any hopes in the future of being in the conversation of trying to win the Super Bowl. Obviously, the Dolphins have been in the consideration maybe like two years ago. But in the end, I don't trust Tua in the big game against a good team. He's always done these type of numbers and played this well against a bad team like the Jets. But whenever he's played the superior opponent, he crumbles. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that game there.